Come, let us explore the hidden truth about Buddha nature you don't see. Together, let us relaxingly recite. A reoccurring phrase in both Mahayana as well as Tantric literature is Tathagata, or Buddha nature. This charming Iron Age turn of phrase hints that enlightenment is our birthright and easily attained, without requiring heroic effort or noble sacrifice. Sounds great. Sign me up. But the mystery remains. How is one to realize that? One of the many advantages of living in this age is that medical professionals have access to sophisticated imaging technology of which the ancients could have never conceived. Functional magnetic resonance imaging, or fMRI studies, have revealed that it is our sympathetic nervous system that is the seat of mindfulness, or sati. Our parasympathetic nervous system that is the seat of meditation, or samadhi. And our anterior cingulate gyrus, that is the seat of our loving kindness, or metta. It is these three structures that comprise our Buddha nature, but a villain lurks. Just as the Buddha's foil was his foolish cousin Devadatta, so too is the team of our prefrontal cortex, the seat of focus and analysis. And our amygdala, the seat of anxiety and aggression, the opponents to the mechanism of our Buddha nature. Just as Jack the Ripper taught us that a surgeon's scalpel could be used to take lives as well as save them, so too could both the prefrontal cortex as well as the amygdala be either used or abused. The solution to this dilemma is twofold. The easy method to strike the match of enlightenment already in our grasp is to allow our sympathetic nervous system to mindfully do its thing during our inhalations, and to let our parasympathetic nervous system to meditatively do its thing during our exhalations. Thus, sitting in formal mindfulness and meditation once every 12 hours or so, we set space to live from our empathetic anterior cingulate gyrus effortlessly and automatically. A delightful fringe benefit of this is the manner in which our choices, utterances, and deeds could begin to flow from the right or effortless effort to love's centered spontaneity, which is the key to the sustainable use of our analytical prefrontal cortex as well as our primal amygdala. This is why the Buddha taught mindfulness and meditation. Let's see here. Having completed our the opening lesson portion of this evening's live stream, it's time to shift gears. It is Obi-Wan Kenobi Wednesday evening. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I have harnessed my autistic special interests as well as my ADHD hyperfocus to spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I could become your nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to meditate like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. Let us turn now to the latest iteration of very easy meditation practice text, or sadhana, if you're nasty. Let us relaxingly recite. Whatever comes, may all beings notice, relax, and flow. Whatever stays, may all beings notice, relax, and flow. Whatever goes, may all beings notice, relax, and flow. I'll be right back. Upon the tip of our left index finger, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger, palms up, in our lap. Thus, working with our index fingers, we could gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to automatically coalesce at the crown region of our head. Let us review mindfulness. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we are wired to access our sympathetic nervous system ensconced within the middle third of our spinal cord. This bad boy helps us to notice in a very special way. It helps us to notice, it helps us to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. What are we to do with that which we notice? Why we meditate. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, our parasympathetic nervous system, divided between the lower third and the upper third of that same spinal cord, is wired to help us to support our physical relaxation as well as mental release. You see, most of us go through life actively competing against our autonomic nervous system. The solution is simple. The solution is as easy as silently and mentally reciting the verb noticing during each inhalation and silently and mentally reciting the verb relaxing during each exhalation. Together, let us practice right now. Welcome to the second quarter of this evening's live stream. Together, let us relaxingly recite an excerpt from the vast expanse of the diamond-like mind, known in Tibet as Dorje Sampa Namka Che, composed about 1400 years ago by Prahe Vajra, translated from the Tibetan by Chokyon Namkai Norbu, translated from the Italian by Adriano Clemente, adapted and amplified by yours truly. Excuse me. Excuse me. Let us relaxingly recite let us relaxingly recite 4 repetitions of this 13th passage. Quoting the expression, gateway to the subtle, they seek the path by isolating the mind, maintaining isolation in a secluded place. If we examine this well, this is the folly of conceptual meditation. Quoting the expression, gateway to the subtle, they seek the path by isolating the mind, maintaining isolation in a secluded place. Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks, including so-called meditation instruction, for most is written from the point of view, from the worldview of being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. And so these very, very controlling people wish to dig deeper into the duality between the coarse and the subtle. They choose to shove at the coarse and reach for the subtle. And to do that, they will often subject themselves to needless austerities, separating themselves from people. One of the great ironies, however, is that when our meditation instruction is from the worldview that is flexible, loving, rational, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind, not only are we flexible in our approach, but we become so much more empathetic that we want to be with people. So when we find ourselves seeking to isolate ourselves from people, then we know that our technique has taken a wrong turn. Let's continue. If we examine well, this is the folly of conceptual meditation. So conceptual meditation would fall into the category of active focus and active analysis, or in other words, letting our mental culture be guided by the rigidity of our controlling tendencies. We can be controlling or we can be laid back. We can be like the Big Lebowski or we can be like the dude. Choose the dude. Let us continue. And of course, welcome to the second quarter of this evening's live stream. Together, let us relaxingly recite. Honing the expression, gateway to the subtle, they seek the path by isolating the mind, maintaining isolation in a secluded place. If we examine well, this is the folly of conceptual meditation. Honing the expression, gateway to the subtle, they seek the path by isolating the mind, maintaining isolation in a secluded place. If we examine well, this is the folly of conceptual meditation. So those who are indoctrinated into the path of being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel, in an effort to control their state of mind, will isolate themselves, physically isolate themselves from others, sometimes for years, sometimes for decades. But that has nothing to do with the path of love. That has nothing to do with the path that is flexible, loving, laid back, rational, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. So once again, any path that separates from you from people is not spiritually productive. Upon the tip of our left little finger, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right little finger, palms up in our lap. Thus, working with our little fingers, we gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to automatically coalesce at the bladder region of our lower abdomen. Every time we inhale, our sympathetic nervous system helps us to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. What are we to do with these things? Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, our parasympathetic nervous system supports both the physical relaxation and mental release. You see, we squander most of our time competing against both our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. The solution to this is as simple as silently and mentally reciting the verb noticing during each inhalation, as well as silently and mentally reciting the verb relaxing during each exhalation. So the moment you have a specific question about Buddhist philosophy or Buddhist meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window. And I'll typically answer it within about 10 minutes or so. Welcome to the third quarter of this evening's live stream. Let us relaxingly recite 4 repetitions of this 14th passage. They coined the terms cause and effect, but both virtues and negativities dissolve completely. They say we will get out of this world just like the animal song, and dualistically nurture supreme complacency by accepting and rejecting. So this passage is speaking about duality. The dualities of cause and effect, the dualities of virtues and negativities, the dualities of accepting and rejecting. So there are some people who have been indoctrinated into a worldview of being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. And these people feel that the only way to get themselves or get other people to do the right thing is to either appeal to their fear of punishment or their desire for reward. The great irony is that just sinks people further into the mud of duality, of pushing and pulling, of accepting and rejecting. So here's the great irony. The more time we spend practicing authentic mindfulness and meditation in cooperation with the natural structures of our central nervous system, the more we will find ourselves being empathetic. The more empathetic we are, the more kind we will be. 50% of the Buddha's Eightfold Path pertains to loving kindness. What does this mean? The essence of morality is simply kindness. Kind intention, kind communication, kind conduct, kind commerce. And that kindness is the effortless byproduct of mindfulness and meditation. So there is no need to coerce ourselves with fear of punishment or hope of reward. So here's the cool thing. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever causes or effects we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could feel less graspable. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever dualities of positivities and negativities we might have perceived during our previous inhalation could feel less graspable. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever accepting or rejecting we might have experienced during our inhalation could feel less graspable. Now that we have a good bead on what this passage means, let's recite. They coined the terms cause and effect, but both virtues and negativities dissolve completely. They say we will get out of this world and dualistically nurture supreme complacency by accepting and rejecting. They coin the terms cause and effect, but both virtues and negativities dissolve completely. They say we will get out of this world and dualistically nurture supreme complacency by accepting and rejecting. They coined the terms cause and effect, but both virtues and negativities dissolve completely. They say we will get out of this world and dualistically nurture supreme complacency by accepting and rejecting. Excuse me. Upon the tip of our left middle finger, we could rest the great knuckle of our right middle finger, palms up, in our lap. Just by working with our middle fingers, we could gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to automatically coalesce at the heart region of our chest. Let us review mindfulness. Every time we inhale, we automatically access the sympathetic nervous system, which helps us to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice all manner of phenomena, from the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque. What are we to do with all this stuff that we notice? During each exhalation, we are already wired to physically relax and mentally release. Sadly, even though our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems have evolved to maintain our mental health, due to a quirk of evolution, our prefrontal cortex spends most of its day competing against our autonomic nervous system. Fortunately, the solution is simple. We have but to silently and mentally recite the verb noticing during each inhalation and the verb relaxing during each exhalation. Together, let us practice right now and remember, the moment you have a specific question about Buddhist philosophy or Buddhist meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window. Typically, I wind up answering these questions within 8 or 9 minutes. Welcome to the fourth quarter of this evening's live stream. Together, let us relaxingly recite 4 repetitions of this 15th passage. Attachment and non-attachment are just the path of words, and the same as something in the middle, like an echo. Happiness and suffering have the same cause, according to the boss-like dynamism of beings. Vajra, diamond-like strength of a well-trained sattva mind. Attachment and non-attachment is just a pseudo-spiritual form of duality. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever attachment or non-attachment we may notice during our previous inhalation can feel as if it was as non-graspable as an echo, resounding yet void. Shakespeare wrote, "The mind can make a hell of a heaven and a heaven of a hell." This is not a question of positive mental attitude. Au contraire, it's a question of whether we notice and relax or don't. There is an archetype known as Vajrasattva, literally translated as diamond mind, figuratively translated as the diamond-like strength of a mind well trained in mindfulness meditation. Together, let us recite. Attachment and non-attachment are just the path of words, and the same as something in the middle, like an echo. Happiness and suffering have the same cause, according to the boss-like dynamism of beings, Vajra, diamond-like strength of a well-trained sattva mind. Attachment and non-attachment are just the path of words, the same as something in the middle, like an echo. Happiness and suffering have the same cause, according to the boss-like dynamism of beings, Vajra, diamond-like strength of a well-trained sattva mind. Attachment and non-attachment are just the path of words, and the same as something in the middle, like an echo. Happiness and suffering have the same cause, according to the boss-like dynamism of beings, Vajra, diamond-like strength of a well-trained sattva mind. Excuse me. Upon yuck. Upon the tip of our left ring finger, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right ring finger, palms up in our lap. Thus, we could gently invite or real or imagine subtle energies to automatically coalesce at the navel region of our mid-abdomen simply by playing with our ring, knuckle, and finger. Let us review mindfulness. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, our sympathetic nervous system helps us to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice dualities such as dread and desire, danger and safety, lack and boon, pain and pleasure, scorn and praise, shame and fame. What are we to do with such dualities? Meditate. For every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, our parasympathetic nervous system is wired to support both our physical relaxation as well as our mental release. Sadly, our cerebral cortex spends most of the day opposing the healing efforts of our autonomic nervous system. Fortunately, that is easily remedied by silently and mentally reciting the verb noticing during our inhalation, and by silently and mentally reciting the verb relaxing during our exhalation. Together, let us practice right now. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to tomorrow's morning meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.